Alright, so 8.2b, page number 581, top of the page, example 4. We're still dealing with the farmer with the 75 acres. What we've got here is 75 acres, which is in and of itself an area. That's why there's not a 2 up here. If it were feet or yards or meters or something along those lines, feet is always a length. But if we have an area, we have length and width, or length and height. But in an acre, the length and width are already taken into account. So 75 acres is in of itself an area. So it doesn't need the 2 up here to show that we've got a length and a width. It's assumed that because it's an area, it is including the length and width. So that's why we don't have a number up here. That being the case, then if we're trying to change that to square feet, since there's not a number up here, we just write our times and our line one time. If there were 2 up here, we'd write it twice. If there were 3 up here, we'd write it 3 times. But since there isn't a number up there, it's just once. And we put acres down here, and it's 1, and we look on our table on page number 580, middle of the page, and we have 43,560. Now notice it says square feet. So we can cancel our acres, put this over 1, multiply 75 times 43,560, and we get 3,267,000. And we use this unit in our ending here because it did not get canceled. So we've got square feet there. Alright, so let's look at just a minute some metric units. Area, the metric system, page number 582, example 6. They're giving us 1 square meter, and they want to convert that to millimeters. And not only millimeters, but square millimeters. So we're going to put our 1 meter squared and see how there's a 2 there, so we get an X, a line, an X, a line. Alright, so we put a meter, meter. Now, as far as length is concerned, what do we know about a meter? Well, we don't necessarily know how many millimeters there are, but we do know that there are 100 centimeters because the word centa means 100 cents to a dollar. Milla is another word for 1,000. So centipede, 100 legs, millipede, or 100 feet, millipede is 1,000 feet. So let's just pretend that all we know is centimeters is 100. So we know that in 1 meter we have 100 centimeters. And then we know that when we're converting to millimeters, we've got centimeters on the bottom. We do it twice because we have 2 of them up here. And we have to see if we know anything about centimeters and millimeters. Well, in this case, there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So we write it twice. We cancel our centimeters out with this one, our meters out with this one, and we multiply across. 100 times 100 times 10 times 10 is 1 million millimeters squared. Okay, and that's what we were looking for. Now, this whole idea of 100 centimeters in a meter and 10 millimeters in a centimeter, you can find that on tables, especially if you're looking at lengths between meters and centimeters and millimeters. You can find out those conversions there. I didn't just figure them out or make them up. They are in a table. So as you're looking through your tables in chapter 8, you'll see where those exist, particularly in 8.1. See if I can find it real quick. Yeah, on page 572, middle of the page, it talks about centimeters and millimeters and whatnot. So use that as you're doing that. I would ignore the table on the bottom of page 581. It's just going to confuse you for the way that I am teaching how to do it. So don't look at that one on 581. Okay, the next part is volume. And volume is how much milk is in a gallon jug, that kind of thing. And volume, fortunately, is already in the unit of measure that we're looking for, or as far as the type of measure. We don't have to write cube or anything like that for the most part for what we're doing right now. So a gallon is already in the right, just like an acre is already an area, a gallon is already a volume. So example 7 says, what is the capacity in pints of a 1 gallon container? So we're changing 1 gallon to pints. So we're going to write 1 gallon. Again, there's no number up here, so line, put gallons on the bottom. And let's see, do we know anything about gallons? Well, we know that there's 4 quarts in a gallon. Doesn't really help us, but at least it's moving us in a direction. Okay, we draw another X and a line. Quarts goes on the bottom, so we can cancel. Let's see if we can know anything about quarts and pints. There's 1 quart for every 2 pints. So I can cancel that, and pints is what we're looking for, so I know I'm done. So that's over 1. So 1 times 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 pints. So volume is not too bad. If you look at the top of the next page, we're dealing with a lot of quarts. In fact, we have 1,800 quarts, and we're changing quarts to, what does it ask for? How many gallons? So we're changing from quarts to gallons. So line 1, because we don't have an exponent up here on quarts. And let's see, do we know anything about quarts and gallons? Well, if you look on the page 582 middle, we know that 1 gallon is 4 quarts. So put that over 1, cross out our quarts, 1,800 divided by 4 gives us what we're looking for, 450 gallons. Okay. The next part is volume in the metric system. Not much different as far as the volume in the metric system is concerned. Let's see if we can find what we're in a good example here. Sports car on page 584, example 9. Sports car has a 2.2 liter engine. What is the displacement in milliliters? So we're just changing liters to milliliters. Okay, so if we look back on page 583, we can start heading in that direction. Do we know anything? Is there anything in that middle column that talks about liters and milliliters? Yep, the very first one. So we've got this with a line, because remember there's no exponent, so we don't have to worry about it. So liters, there's 1 liter to 1,000 milliliters. Over 1, our liters here cancel. So we have 2.2 times 1,000, which gives us 2,200 milliliters. Okay, so that's a lecture for 8.2. Come back and we'll do some problems from the problem set and then continue on to 8.3.